Hey guys, today we'll be building a cryptocurrency app similar to Coinbase and Kraken. I've borrowed a lot of design elements from these apps since they're some of my favorite applications. We won't be building the entire app today, instead we'll just be focusing on building the detail screen. If you'd like to take a look at the complete source code, I've included a link to the GitHub repository in the description below. Let's break the detail screen down so that we get a better idea of what we're building today. At the top, we have a couple of text widgets that displays the current price and percentage change. For this, we'll be creating a reusable component since this is something that we'll be using throughout the app. Next, we have a graph that shows the price over time. We'll be using FL charts as our charting library since I find the API to be nice and simple. Below that, we have a filter bar that changes the time range on our graph. We'll be implementing this component using a horizontal list view. This gives us the flexibility to add additional filter options because the list is scrollable. The next section contains a table with some information about the cryptocurrency. We'll use the row and column widgets to build out this table. Below that, we have an expandable text widget that holds the description. And finally, we have a button that is pinned to the bottom of the screen. When the user presses on this button, a dialog appears which allows the user to choose whether they want to buy or sell that specific crypto. So now that we have an understanding of all the basic components of our screen, let's get to coding our first component. Alright, let's take a look at the price widget. This widget is pretty simple. It basically contains 3 text widgets inside of a column. So based on the design, we'll include a title, an amount, and a percentage change property. The title is optional and will only appear if the text is provided. The amount text is actually built using a rich text widget. We want to use a rich text widget so that we can control the font size of the whole part and the fractional part of the price. If you take a look at the design, the whole part is a larger font size than the fractional part. Let's set the font sizes to 36 and 18 respectively. Now let's write the build method for the percentage change text. This is just a simple text widget that uses our color formatter to change the color of the text. If the value is positive, we'll return the color green, and if it's negative, we'll return the color red. Now that we have all of our build methods, we can fill out the build method for our price widget. Let's place them inside of a column and hit save. And there we have our first component. Alright, let's move on to the price graph. We'll be creating a new stateless widget called asset price chart. We'll be using FL charts as our charting library since it's really easy to use and customize. Our chart is a simple line chart that takes in some data and a line color. The data property is a list of FL spots. An FL spot is simply a point on the Cartesian coordinate system. Let's fill out our build method. We'll need to return a line chart. Our line chart takes in some line chart data and a swap animation duration property. The swap animation duration just controls how long it takes for our graph to animate when the data changes. Let's take a look at the line chart data property. The design of our chart is pretty simple, so we'll be turning a lot of these properties off. Let's go through them one by one. Line touch data controls how we want our touch point to be displayed. Here we enable it and give the tooltip a dark background color, and we'll set the opacity to 80%. Next is the grid data property. We'll be turning off the grid lines on our chart, so we'll set this property to false. We'll also be turning off the chart borders, so set this to false. The last property is the most important property. It tells FL charts how to display our data. We'll set the isCurve property to true since we want a smooth curve for our chart. Next, we'll set the color. Since we only have one set of data, we'll only need to provide it with one color. We'll set the bar width to 2 to match our design. And we'll set the dot data to false since we don't want to show a dot for each data point. Next, we'll configure how the area below the line appears. The color under the line will be the same color as our line, but we'll set the alpha value to 50 so that it contrasts. And finally, we'll provide our chart with some data. Typically, you would want to pass in the data as a parameter, but for this demo, we'll be generating some fake data. Our fake data generator simply creates 35 data points and uses a random number function to gradually increase the y values. Great, now we have all of the settings for our graph configured. Let's hit save and see our work. Next, we'll be building the chart filter. This filter allows the user to change the time range on the graph. The constructor takes in one parameter, which is the onPressed callback function. For a real application, you may want to change this function to return an int to specify what time range was selected. We'll use a horizontal list view so that we can add any number of buttons to our control. For the buttons, we'll use simple text buttons. And that's all we need to do for the chart filter. Next, we'll be building the asset stat widget, which shows some information about the asset. Here we'll want to show the price, both high and low, the symbol, the volume, the rank, and the market cap. Each stat contains a pair of text widgets, one for the name or the title, and one for the actual value. We'll use the row widget and give it some styling. Okay, let's go ahead and build out our table. We'll be using the row widget and the stat widget that we just created. The first row will contain the high price as well as the symbol. And for the second row, we'll show the low price and the rank. And finally, for the third row, we'll show the 24-hour volume and the market cap. Let's hit save and see how that looks on our phone. The description is pretty simple. We'll just use a container and a text widget and apply some styling. And finally, we'll build out our pill button. We'll use the stack widget so that we can align the button to the bottom of the screen using the align widget. Set the alignment property to bottom center. And finally, we'll show an action sheet when the user taps on the button. The action sheet lets the user pick whether they want to buy or sell that asset. And that's it. We've completed the detail screen for our crypto trading app. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and see you guys next time.